Hey, gentlemen. Good morning, everybody. I trust you can hear me. Let me know if you can't. First of all, I'd like to apologize for last stream. I got my information mixed up. If you do super chat or donate through this live chat, I think I get 70% and YouTube gets 30%. So I'll shut up about it now. I just thought YouTube was being pretty unfair to you guys. But if you feel like super chatting and donating through here, they take 30%, just to let you know. Otherwise, through PayPal. Let's get going. Well, apparently people had a few things to say about the last video, which is good. I talked to a friend recently about it. Then I saw one or two videos about a couple of people intelligently talking about the hookup culture. And I thought it'd be an interesting thing to talk about from my point of view. Let me know your questions. Remember, any questions about it, make your questions stand out so that I can see them in the feed with emojis or bracket them or super chat them or whatever you feel like. Just so I've got less chance to miss them. But while you guys come up with your own questions, I'll some of the comments from last night when I posted the video, I'll put up a couple of the notable ones, and I know there's a few comments still coming in. Nathan said, the problem I see is the time wasted on something that doesn't have a foundation and will not last. This was exactly, if you want to encompass my whole video, it's pretty much my sentiment. I mean, life doesn't last in and of itself. I think as human beings, we try to make the most of the time we've got. And the way relationships end now, given the dating dynamic, it is, it almost, not to say that relationships are everything, but for guys that aren't obsessed with a calling, you know, they're not really into something that they throw their whole lives into. If it's just enjoying yourself in freedom, the freedom to interact with other people, friendships, relationships, lovers, whatever have you, whatever, like just as a basic sort of thing as a human being, to whatever degree you want to have a relationship or interact with the opposite sex, it really kind of hamstrings the point where you just have to almost be alone. And again, you'll get a lot of the guys saying, well, you got to toughen up and so forth. But kicking yourself psychologically, if you can't even connect with friends, people, or intimate partners, is something that guys stoically sometimes get a little bit too tough on. I think if you look back on the Stoics, they don't stand on the neck of relationships and love. They actually exalt it. They talk about love in the positive sense and connection with people, but they talk about the meaningful part of it. So yeah, so let me know your thoughts on the hookup culture, because I've gotten a few guys actually reflecting what I see. I just kind of observe. I mean, I had it easier than what I see. And then some people say, well, that might just be in my imagination. And, you know, the older you get, you always say, well, in my day, it was easier in this respect. But that could be imagination. But no, I remember I started online dating when it started to creep in, when it was really kind of taboo and hush-hush. It was almost like porn, that you didn't tell anybody that you met online at all. It was really, really seedy, and it made you seem like a loser. And this was in the late 90s, early 2000s. I can't even remember. It was around there. Now it's about the only way people can meet, because people really don't interact out in public. To sort of pick someone up in public is really rare. Questions. So let me go through and see if there's any questions. Okay, good. You can hear me. XMS says, I don't mind long streams. Do whatever you feel like. I treat them like podcasts. Yeah, some people do. I don't mind them if they're interesting conversations or interesting talks by a person that I like listening to. For instance, yesterday I went for a long jog for about an hour and a bit, and I was listening to a long discussion between a couple of people. I don't mind it, but some people, they watch, and again, attention deficit, the dating market, social media, they flick through things. They want short, concise information. So everybody's different. So it's hard to accommodate everybody. I think that's why YouTube kind of recommends, and most people say, between the 7 to 10 minute mark, a video is the sweet spot. It doesn't mean it's perfect. You're trying to accommodate both. You're trying to accommodate the people with a low attention, and those people who can sit still and appreciate and absorb things that require longer attention. Yeah, I prefer longer streams or longer videos or podcasts or talks myself. I really like them. Then again, when they just meander and they waffle, and there's some people who stream, especially in video games, where they just hang out, and admittedly, they're not trying to create content. They're just hanging out with other people, and they record it and they hang out for 6 hours, talking here and there, and not really, you don't really kind of log in to listen to thought-provoking content. It's really just to hang out with someone. I suppose this is a little bit of both. Am I in focus? There we go. Mikkel asks, what do you think is the main motivation behind it? Today's hookup culture, it's basically to get together with another human being. Before, it used to be more meaningful because you had to try harder, think about it. That was the important thing. You needed to use your brain and a civilized way to approach it, whereas now it's very animal-based. It's kind of in and out, like a monkey. And I think one of the comments, I'll have a look. Yeah, B. Dangerfield said, I'm not sure we have a choice anymore. That's exactly it. The young guys have a choice. There's nothing else. What are young guys supposed to do? I mean, someone my age, the people, unless you're going for people that are really young, which I don't, the people that are of similar age, say, they tend to have some kind of mindset that resembles yours. William says, once I stopped trying to make relationships work that weren't working and stopped trying to game when I have been single, I'm truly much happier in general. It's a relief. Yeah, when I got to a similar point where I stopped trying to game things, if I need to do this, I need to press this button. I need to look this way. I need to... There's basic things like cleaning yourself up, presenting well, being honest, but they're general human interactions. When you go to work, you've got to present yourself in certain environments. You need to modify yourself slightly, but not really change who you are. I noticed I never really liked having to become another person, present and talk as another person, trying to impress somebody. You look at a lot of dating sites, women want to be impressed. They always did, but now it's kind of like, you had better impress me and give me a damn good reason to speak to you or give you the time of day, because I've got hundreds of people in my inbox. There's a lot of guys sort of tapping my shoulder, make me notice you. Real names not given. This is a good one. He said, people may want to sleep with a hoe, but no one really wants to be with a hoe. Exactly it. Exactly. I think it's, I don't know about you guys, but for myself, I think it's not so much about, she's been with a lot of guys. It's, even if, aside from someone not having a myriad of diseases, I never liked the idea of sleeping with a virgin anyway. Maybe it's got to do with me not wanting kids or whatever, but I never wanted to hold anyone's hand. I wanted someone who knew what they were doing, someone who was mature, someone who had experience. But when you're with them, that's it. That stops. If you want a committed relationship, or if you like this person, you want to stay with them, the whoring, mine and hers, stops. But no, you don't want to stay with someone who continues to do it. I think it's the lying, the deceitfulness, because if you like someone and you want to stay with them, you want the honesty of, don't lie to me. If you're going to screw around, it means I can't rely on ever having you there, or if I want to be with you, you're not going to be there. Yeah, all of that. I like the comfort of a stable relationship, friendships, lovers, etc. I don't like chasing. I like a simple life. And whoring around, for me, it was less about the dirtiness of it, except for the practical sides, of course, the medical sides. But it was more about, okay, now stay in one place, you know. I can't be bothered running on the treadmill, chasing them, gaming them, trying to be better than the next guy. That's the thing that deters me from PUA. They can do what they like. I don't kind of think it's disgusting. I just think it's a waste of energy. Like, how much attention, how much time do you have? How little hobbies do you have? You must have none to spend all your time spinning plates. Literally, like the amount of time one girl takes that you find attractive, if you're spinning more than that, 2, 3 more, Jesus. Take your multivitamins, man. Healthy quadrant. What are your thoughts on prostitution, both male and female? Look, there's always a John. You're always paying for sex. At least if you want to call it the normal way of doing it, it's a little bit, actually, no, it's not a little bit more honest. Like, a lot of guys think, like say my friend, he really believes that his future wife really loves him for him, but she's very materialistic. So a lot of guys can't see it. I don't know. I think if you're okay mentally with having, knowing that you're just paying for her and she's faking liking you, and she may very well be genuinely enjoying your company, but the gatekeeper of money, which allows her to enjoy her time with you, if you're okay with, without this money, I can't have a friendship, a relationship, a lover, a sex partner, I can't have this time with her. Because I said in my last video, I like security. I don't like the insecurity of, if I lost my job, she's gone. I want to be able to sleep better at night. So the reason I prefer as much as I can, and yes, I know biology, that a woman love me for me, just like my friends love me for me, is that no matter what would happen to me that would not be my fault, that would have nothing to do with the person I am, there's a level of security that there's people there you can count on and they can count on me. But I don't like the fact that, yeah, I'll be there and I'll be a friend, I'll be a lover, I'll be around you, I'll love you, I'll take care of you, but the gatekeeper is money. And if that's taken away from me and there's nothing I can do, I can't help it. I get an illness, they're gone. So it's the pretending that this is genuine, but really without the gatekeeper of money, there is nothing there. It doesn't exist. That's what I don't like. It's not meaningful to me. And I know that most human interactions, they're what are they? What's the saying? There is no unconditional love. There are conditions, but the condition of money is so cold. Money has nothing to do with me. If my character breaks a friendship, if I become an arsehole, if I transgress, if I cheat on them, if I break a promise, that's different. I did it, me. But if something so immaterial, where you could replace me with someone else, I can't really see the substance behind me being there. And to lie that I matter where I really don't, I don't like the lying. And again, the trust factor of what relationships are meant to be and that we tell each other and that we base it off, yet really the gatekeeper of it for most people is that utility of if there's no money, there's no relationship. Yes, I know we both need to survive, but you don't need a lot of money. You know, you both don't need to be earning six figures. That plays into a person's greed and materialism and stuff. But basically, that's it. I'm waffling on anyway. Karu, how are you, man? I hope you slept well. The grass is always greener, he says. On the other side, people will always lament what they don't have. Instead of viewing hookup culture as a negative, why not use it as a tool, training till you get what you want? Yes, but you could also get hurt, I think. It depends where you are too. If, like, for instance, there might be some people that really need it as a release, but okay, I'll be devil's advocate. What if during that you're free, you feel untouchable, you're enjoying yourself, then all of a sudden you meet a person that you click with and you want to settle down, but they don't want to get off the hookup treadmill. That's where things get sticky. And I think where things get sticky today, where women have so many people on the go in their inbox, on their app, that it takes a lot for them to settle for you. And what will make them settle for you and negate the hundreds of potential Chads and Christian Greys? If you had a lot of money, you got not a six-pack, but an eight-pack, you're the best of the best. There's literally, in terms of her status to other women's eyes, there's literally nothing better than you. It takes a lot. And even then, some women think they can still do better. What was that meme that it shows Superman with a woman and the thought bubble is, I wonder if I can do better than this? That's the only thing. If you're both on the same page up here, and people don't communicate that well these days, man, you know better than most. People say a lot, but underneath it, they don't mean it, or they say what they need to say to keep the person there, while in the background they might be spinning plates and keeping the person around because they don't want to be alone. So the communications aren't that genuine. But I know what you're saying. For a period of time, I think it can be a good decompression. It can soothe you. You've just gone through something rough, a breakup, and you really need a release. It's like a release valve. For a short period of time, it can really do the world of good. I don't think it's a great long-term solution, and I've seen too many guys that they get to middle age and beyond, older than me, and they're still chasing pussy like they did in their 20s. And it's not that it's sad. You just see them, they're hollow husks that all they can talk about is women and drinking, and it's like they've gone through a low-level head injury. But anyway, they're just some of my thoughts. Tool training, yes, depends on your state of mind though. But a lot of people will fool themselves into thinking, no, I'm in control, while rationalizing an addiction. If it's not really addiction and only you can tell, yeah, it could be a tool if you've got hold of it. But if it's controlling you and you're just rationalizing it, okay, let's go on. Clinton, do you think there will be an online dating exodus eventually? Nah, no way. What's the alternative? As Mr. Dangerfield said, until there's an alternative, there's nothing else. I mean, until there's an alternative to YouTube, like no one's going anywhere. There's one big game in town. That's all there is. Mr. 305 Max said, it's better because it makes you more monk. Depends what you really want. If that's your nature, it can really help you. Thanks, Mictaldean man, for the super chat. I really appreciate it, man. I'll get to your question 2 in a sec. The hidden MGTOW. I can see every whisker. Oh, great. That's what I focus on, actually, when I realign my focus. I focus on this. Rusky, I don't feel comfortable sleeping with strangers. Me neither. I mean, the more you know someone, the more you can relax, both in your personality. You can let your guard down, and also physically. I think, especially with guys, to be able to, you know what, the more you can relax those blood vessels, the better. Hats off to guys who can sort of do it with anybody. But also, I don't know what it kind of says about the person where they can be really open with a cardboard cutout. And do they resist something that's more intimate, where they can be themselves? Do they feel more nervous showing who they are? Are they more comfortable hiding themselves, and they're more relaxed and prefer being with strangers, rather than in the back of their mind psychologically, I don't like myself, others won't like me, there's nothing good about me, and I'm not interesting. If I put this mask on, or I see them as a mask, I'm more comfortable. You know, what does that say about you too? Again, I'm not judging, I'm just asking a question. Clinton, I've spoken to many women that are over online dating. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. They love perpetual shopping, and online dating is perpetual shopping on speed. You know, that it's maxed out on its actual speed, literal speed, that they can't keep up. They never choose, or they go on so many dates that it's tiring. And considering how long women take to get ready, I think that will make them even more reluctant to go on dates. And so it's just easier to spin online virtual plates and just have the potential. A lot of women just get off on the attention. Oh, I chatted to a guy. That's them blowing their load. You know, chatting to and getting all this attention, and they switch off the app, and they've had their time. But I can imagine how it'd get tiring. On our end, it's all the chasing it's tiring in that respect, but the avalanche of attention on their side as well. Just the whole interaction is tiring to me. We've got too much choice, and so we don't choose anything, and we get lazy, and we don't get what we want or need, but we think we can get everything because we've got so much choice. Don't end up doing anything. I mean, case in point with cameras and equipment, there's so many people who are into tech who review cameras, and they just, every time a new camera and upgrade comes out, they buy the new one. They don't actually create any content. They don't sit down and have a tactile experience and create something and bring it out, or have a conversation with somebody. They flick through purchasing new cameras, new lenses, the way they flick through conversations with people on their social media feed, or they flick through DMs, and these women on dating sites, say more than hi, impress me. Don't just say hi, or I won't even talk to you. The way we're interacting is making it impossible unless you're the 1% of the 1%. And you try really hard to impress. But if you're the 1% of Chads, why would you even need to try? Everything works against both sexes. Does hookup culture mitigate loneliness? Yeah, for sure, man. I think so. That's something I don't have to think about. How's the audio? I'm using a new microphone today. Ramming speed. Almost done with divorce now after 10 years. Had partners all my adult life, and I do still like women, but really I must ask myself, why would I bother trying to hook up? Yeah, exactly. Try doing it a couple of times and you'll see how clownish it is. It does not resemble anything. Like, I remember in my 20s, the unknown of dating and the nervousness. It was very different to my imagination when I started dating, but it was still exciting and fun. It was, if anything, it was more. It was different, but more than my imagination. Sometimes it didn't meet up to it. Sometimes it was better than what I could have imagined because there was so much tactility, the senses, the smell, the person, the sound, the inflections in their body language and things. Just, you couldn't beat it. I notice, and you could argue it's because I've had a lot of girlfriends, and I've had the experience where over time it's been there, done that. He's just another person with another face having a coffee and talking the same crap, and just trying to force myself square peg in a round hole in terms of personalities. I'm just over it. But I just remember how much heightened the feeling was. I talk to guys, they don't even date, or they've gone on one or two, and it's just so much less than their imagination or anything online. It is such a letdown. Dating was not a letdown. And I talked to people my generation before. Dating was not a letdown. If anything, it was different to your imagination, but in a lot of ways, it was better sometimes than what you hoped for or how you felt, even sex. Nowadays, it's the opposite. It's so deadening. The real thing is deadening. That, I think, is the dangerous thing. And even the effort beforehand, it's like, what's the point? Like, your logic is overriding your biology to such a degree that it's scary for me. I feel for guys. I really do, guys. I don't know the answers, but let's see. Dunstan says, yes, this is me. I've never experienced monogamy or even a relationship. Only casual. It's like that with most of the guys my age that I know. That's a big point. It's all we had. I'm disgusted and burnt out from it. Yeah, I can imagine, man. You plug one and she's in bed just messaging the next guy on Tinder. Like, what's the norm? That's the norm now, seriously. It's so messed up. Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm saying. Like, I was probably like me, and maybe just before, around my generation, was the last one that kind of had some sort of, historically speaking, normality, baseline in terms of what it's always been like to one degree or another. Mating, the civility, the respect, the smiling, the other person thinking that they're talking to someone special, and I want to see if this person could be the one, and I'm going to really keep my eyes open and attention, because aside from the person in front of me, there's no one else. Now it's kind of like, it's kind of like, my attention's here, man. Like, you better you better really show me. You better blow me away. It's a really bad way to approach human relationships. Impress me. Really arrogant, really narcissistic. Thanks, David, for the super chat. I really appreciate it, man. Whoa, okay. It's jumped. All right, let's go through these questions. Thanks for the donation, MGTOW ND man. I appreciate it very much. Finch, have really enjoyed your last few videos. The subtle calling out of others is wonderful. Well done. Really? I didn't think I'm calling generally, like parts of the manosphere, the way generally people act. Yeah, fine. I don't think I don't like picking on individuals. I think people can do what they want individually, but generally what you see, trends and so forth. I'm not really trying to do gotchas. I'm really trying to focus on things that I think are important, or we should talk about, or that are giving people problems, or me at the very least. Will says, arguably the most honest relationship it is possible to have with a woman is that between a hooker and a client. Yeah, I suppose it's the most honest or the most transparent. It is what it is, and there's really You don't hear of very many surprises other than some sort of bizarre interaction or two personalities that have, something goes wrong. But generally, 99% of the time, it is what it is. Red Pill Mentor, hey man, how you going? One common tactic for attempting to acquire mates is throwing sex at high-status men, and this can be rather dangerous if she becomes resentful following the utilization of this asset. Remember, guys, if you want to ask questions, make them stand out with symbols or emojis or a super chat. Omega Sigma, could there be a correlation between online dating and in-person engagement with reading a book compared to watching a movie? Yeah. Each has its advantages and disadvantages in telling your story. Yeah, yep. Yeah, if you're speaking about in terms of a movie is passively giving you the story, you don't really have to work for it very much unless the movie has depth, but these days they don't. They kind of just feed you a message and you're just kind of a blank canvas that gets fed the narrative. In that same way, I think the emptiness and the speed of social media and dating that we flick, literally, we haven't got time to read the story and do the work of actually reflecting on, does this connect with me? It's kind of like flick, 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 animal instinct. Hot, hot, ugly, hot, ugly, hot. So yeah, I think there's something in that. That's a good point. Good questions, guys. Real names not given. Relationships are quid pro quo. Yes, they should be. A lot of times they aren't, though. They should be. They call me cemetery. All the doors have basically closed for men. Only two doors are left open now. Idolatry and evolution. Yeah. Now it's almost like the only way is that idolatry leads to... Oh, you mean evolution in terms of us evolving away from this mess? That's going to be hard. John says, do you find politics and societal trends infringing on your hobbies? My hobbies have become completely politicized by leftists. I've gone my own way in my hobbies as well. Depends what your hobby is, I suppose. If it requires going out into the world and by necessity engaging with other people, I can see it. But if it's on your own, less so. But yeah, I can see it. It does. For instance, even the simple fact, if you're into going to the gym, just the amount of people you need to talk to, just walking around, but then I noticed that too, a lot of people with their headphones on, just the negating social interaction, head down on the phone or headphones out, blocking out everyone. And then on top of that, you got the media online saying, no, you should be in the zone all the time. And that kind of propaganda, that focus of you, the zone, block out everyone else, flick through feeds, only talk to the best of the best. There's not many best of the best, and your bar for what is the best of the best could be delusional. Your bar for, I've got high standards, so I only talk to, date these people and F everybody else. That could subconsciously be making you stay alone because you might have a bit of fear and you might be more... What's the word? I'm drawing a blank now. You could be more of an introvert. And so having these high standards keeps you alone because you feel comfortable there. Get to know yourself too. A lot of times we just confirm our own reflexes and biases and we get very smart about it. Will, question, is there a way to avoid the contractual dimension associated with relationships with women? The only way I don't say it's guaranteed, but for me, I hammer home as soon as I meet someone I'm interested in or I like them, we get along. I'm as open as I possibly can be. A lot of people say, no, you shouldn't. You're being too vulnerable, but I don't care. And it's not that I'm giving them my PIN number or giving them the key to my house or moving in. I'm not doing any of that. But I'm letting them know, like I talk to you, I'm very open. I let them know what I'm about. Don't want to get married. These are my views, political ones. This is where I stand. I'm very, very transparent. I don't play the Romeo game. I'm very much as much me as I can. I just talk the way I want to without any filters. I want to enjoy myself. I'd say that's about the best way. Let them see who you are. If they don't like it, they can go. They can find someone else. You don't waste your time, at least. The best you can do in the relationships, the good ones I've had, is that I've shown who I am. And while it lasted, and I've had a couple of really good relationships in my life, 5 long-term, 4 were really good. But I put it down to they appreciated me, especially initially, because they could let their guard down because they saw that I was. They found me interesting. Later on, obviously, they weren't really maybe looking at themselves, being honest with what they wanted. But you need to be honest with what you want straight from the start, let out who you are. So for however long it lasts, at least you know it's as genuine as you can try and make it. At least I can sleep better at night later on, rather than putting on the act and doing all the game theory and all that kind of stuff, and then it doesn't work out. And then for me, it'd be sort of doubly heavy afterwards, knowing that, like, you know, I should have just been myself. I played this game. I put on this mask. I acted the part. I was alpha. Why did she leave? See, you be everything she wants and she still leaves. Well, if she's still going to leave anyway, why not just be who you are? And who cares? The sooner the better she leaves. If it's you, at least you get rejected for who you are, not the act. I think I talked about that in a recent video. Time of Dying said, I just watched your video and I disagree with you when you say that people aren't objects. By definition, we are. Yeah, conceptually, I'm not saying that. And especially in psychology, everyone's an object. There's a subject and an object. So psychology, if you want to look at it literally, is very object-orientated and very narcissistic in its point of view, the way it terms people. We are, but I was just talking in terms of human terms, in terms of meaningful things where we feel good, like with friends, where we can let our guard down. We are objects, but you don't want to literally look at everyone like an object and desensitize yourself. And especially someone, for me, I enjoy the human, open, creative sides of me, that I'm able to do this stuff. I'm not clinical, but I can philosophically recognize that. You're not wrong. I don't disagree with you, but I know I would not get a lot of color in my life if I looked at things clinically always from that point of view. I do from different perspectives when it's not working, from a very humanistic point of view, a very conceptually broad-minded, artistic, creative point of view, if you will. Then you can shift and look at it from a clinical, purely calculated, analytical point of view. Yes, I'm an object, she's an object. How do these two objects relate? Are these two objects being fair to each other? That can be a good way to look at things too. But generally, I don't want to be that cold, because I don't operate well in life where I enjoy things where I'm too clinical. I don't think I'd have the energy and my exuberance and my will if I operated from there. I would be more nihilistic. I can use that point of view. I find it useful, but it's not my personality. But I can look through that lens. I can appreciate it. MGTOW ND man. One answer, MGTOW ND man. Thank you for the super chat, man. He asks, one answer to men needing their intimacy met will be resolved with the development of AI. That will greatly assist a lot of men, not all, but some. Depends what that AI looks like. Will they allow it? What will they do with the other half of society that currently runs the show and pulls the strings? They're not going to like it. They're currently, it's like the petrochemical company. Yeah, electric cars are better, but how are you going to get rid of the petroleum industry and everything that's in place at the moment? You can't sort of go, well, this is the way forward. Let's just turn that switch off on fossil fuels. It's the same. Women are the fossil fuels, like at the moment. How are you going to go to electric cars? How are you going to go to AI? That's going to be the challenge. Conceptually, I don't see anything wrong with what you're saying, but it's the practicality of it. Stefan asks, I see a lot of comments to the effect of, I'm alone but not lonely, seemingly trying to convince themselves I'm getting more used to it, but the aloneness isn't easy. Do you struggle with solitude? At times I do. Not as much as most people. I recognize that I kind of recognize my own little peculiarities. I need a lot more solitude than most people because I get energized through my creative pursuits, but just sitting there doing nothing, I could see myself getting neurotically lonely. But I don't sit around doing nothing. I love solitude where I do stuff. I'm very much a doer. But if you're not, again, look at your own personality. But yeah, there are times where I'm just having one of those days where I'm feeling flat and I don't feel like doing much at all. That's not very often, but that's my personality. And when I do, or I'm having one of those days where for some reason I'm feeling flat, or the memory of my ex comes along and I don't like it and I struggle against it, but it's there. I can imagine people who don't have the resources to go to creative pursuits and have my will to do things. That's all they occupy most of their time in that space. That'd be really, really hard, man. I struggle with it. And in these times, that's why I say I have sympathy for guys, because most of the people's lives are on here, and most of it is social media, which includes dating. Everything's relating to your friends and other guys, but also women and the potential of hooking up. And it's just very adrenalized. At least before this time, if there wasn't a woman in a tactile sense that you were trying to date, get the attention of, and that you really liked, women were relatively neutral or invisible, and all it was your friends and your hobbies and your pursuits. It was much more upbeat because most people live their lives here socially, and there's such a big push for the potential of intimate and sexual relations here. It occupies more, the sexual dynamic occupies much more of your mental space and your libido than it once did. Guys were still occupied with sex, but I think unless the better imagination you had, or the more you were naturally addicted, it didn't affect you as much. Now you don't need an imagination. It feeds you an adrenalized cocaine-like imagination here, whether you have imagination or not. Your imagination is deadened, and you're fed your narrative. You're fed your your sexuality, your impulses to sort of mate. It's just pummeling you. You can't think of anything else. You could be looking at something unrelated to sex, and then you get an ad that's got a sexy female on it. It's hard to escape. It's everywhere. All right, back to the questions. HY, I've dated and slept with over 300 women, and trust me when I say this, hookups are unfulfilling. Yeah, I mean, it's the essential thing of, if you go through the motions, it's the treadmill, no matter how nice the treadmill is. If, for instance, the camera I'm using now, I've had it for like 2.5, No, 3 years now. If I love cameras and tech, right? If I bought the latest camera every single week or month, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. I would not care about this camera. But I really love this camera. I use it. I've got my scratches and dints on it, and it's mine. It's not yours if it always leaves. You barely have your fingerprints on it. You barely have time to experience it. We don't spend enough time with people, or even things, if you want to be materialistic, enough to feel fulfilled by them. It is unfulfilling. Very. I agree. HY. Yeah, Timothy Dying actually says, confronted with infinite options, the human mind shuts down and doesn't want to choose. Yeah. When there's an avalanche, what movie was it recently? Or when you see fight scenes in battles, like medieval ones, when guys are with swords fighting everyone, they're fighting, and as the horde gets bigger and bigger, it just overwhelms them, like zombies, and then all of a sudden they just get stacked on. When there's too much, you give up. You can't anymore. You're immobilized. One or two come one at a time, where you can give them your conscious attention and you can fight off one person. When there's 3, 4, 5, and they get you from every direction, when there's too much of an avalanche, you shut down. You give up. You're overwhelmed by the largesse of what's coming down on you. That's what dating is. You can only focus on one thing at a time, or at least with a person, that should be the case. And the fact that we're being forced to split our focus, we're deadening ourselves. Of course, there's a lack of meaning. You haven't got any space to sort of sit with meaning. You haven't got any space to sit and find meaning in a person, to concentrate. If you're being avalanched with 100, where you just can't. And especially as guys, there's a cliche, we can't do two things at once. Look at the dating market. Now tell me, doesn't it make sense the way men are feeling now, overwhelmed and just kind of desensitized by the whole thing? Who's they? Come on. David says, got to get a woman with limited internet connection. Post-M says, it's like appliances and electronics. Long ago, they were expensive and repaired when they broke. Now they are disposable. Relationships now model the tastes of the consumer. People seek quantity over quality. That's a spelling mistake. And often await the next new model. In Western culture, to your girlfriend or wife, you are like an object and no better, in a sense, than an iPhone. There are always new models coming out. There are no incentives to be loyal or invest in long-term relationships. Yeah, we're products. We're commoditized. We're consumerized. It's a cliche, but it's true. What do you think of this stream's color profile? I like it. Victor Creed, are you guys ready to take women's rights away? Yeah, how, man? A lot of those comments, the world-building ones, they sound more plausible in a movie. I'm not saying some of the solutions. I mean, okay, depopulation. Kill half the population of the world. Practically, it'll work. Great solution. Let's try it. How practical is it? Who's going to choose? How agreeable will people be? How civil will people be about it? There's a thing about what's a solution and what's a realistic one given where we are now. Like it's gone so far now with women pulling the strings that it's how we do it. It's how we change things for the better or get people to get along better. Remember, guys, if you want to ask questions, make them stand out with emojis, symbols, or super chat. DQQQ, whatever. Do you weightlift? Yes, I do. Victor, stop repeating the same thing, man. I heard you the first 15 times. It's very simple. Repeal the 19th. Yeah, simple. Just like it's simple. Let's just terraform Mars. Let's just go to another planet. Again, I'm not saying some of these solutions don't point in workable directions, but it's how to get there. Jumping from point 0 to, point 50. There's all the steps in between as well. And there's also the consequences of everything in between that I think a lot of people, from going from straight to the target, they don't see the nuances in between. Again, I don't necessarily agree with some of these theories, but I'm a fairly practical person as well, and it's kind of like, yeah, okay, what's the journey there going to look like? Okay, my feed's just jumped. What's going on? What's going on? Sorry, guys. All right, I might have missed a few of your... I can't go back up further. There's a limit now. I don't know why. Spetsnaz, hey man, how you going? Glad you could join us. What are your 3 golden rules for young men today? Can be in relation to life of the ladies. It's probably more in relation to you. I think any golden rule that you want to try to sort of keep in focus should be about you. Some people require more practical things. Like, I don't know, shower in the morning, go for a run, make sure you eat properly. Mine's more about self-respect. What can you do in the day that at the end of the day you felt like, oh, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I spoke up that way. Those are probably my things, but no real golden rules or top 5 whatevers. That's a good question, but I need to think about it, man, because off the top of my head, I don't think I'd give a good answer. But all I could say is my instinct says any 3 golden rules that you want to apply, I think they need to be focused about how you act in the world towards yourself first, in your day-to-day, and relationally between people, how you operate with others, how you stand up for yourself, and how honest you are. How proud and self-respecting you can be when you look at yourself as a third person and go, yeah, I'm proud of this person. I did what I wanted to do. I spoke up. I did a few things today, things like that. I was productive. Jeff says, what do you think will be the consequences on boys of so many of them growing up without male role models? Detrimental. You already see it now. And even Spetsnaz will tell you. A lot of guys growing up without men, what are they being fed? They're being taught by their single mothers. Their single mothers probably hate men. They dislike their exes, and maybe with good reason. Maybe their exes weren't great fathers. The point is, if a young boy, all he hears is that dad was awful and usually a boy imprints and learns from a bigger version of himself, which is the father. If there's none of that there, the only bigger version of himself is the mother saying that thing ain't shit, and by correlation, neither are you. The media says you're not shit. Men are the problem. Men need to try hard. Like, it's a self-abasing way to come out of the oven cooked as an adult. And then no matter what you do, you operate from a subservient, hunched over, I'm sorry point of view. You just see it. Guys trying to be more masculine today in a superficial way. The bigger your beard, the more tats you have, you go to a barber shop and you're really manly. You just see a lot of the brands out there. They're just kind of very much macho, projecting, like overcompensating, like trying to be as macho as you can to show that you exist as a male, because you're constantly told you're not. And to even try to exist, you've got to stand out. You've got to be more man than the next, because the bar for even materializing as a male, not that it's high, it's just superficially high. It's kind of empty. It's all show. That's why I hope guys, I want them to think better for their own sake in the decisions they make. Then from that, I'd see that good things will come from that in the future. That's how societal things will change. Victor, women are children with adult bodies, most of them. Yeah, I agree. That's the way they act. Do I watch anime? Sometimes. What do I think about it? I like it. But I used to watch more of it when I was younger. I think I kind of went straight to comic books in my late teens, but it was predominantly manga before that. Victor, all right, man. Don't act too smart. Just listen to someone like me who understands it. Unless you want me to block you, be nice to people. Hugo says, do you think resentment is a reason to be part of the hookup culture? Yeah, but it doesn't do any good for you. Fight Club with men is beneficial. Fight Club with women destroys you. There's no point. Terrell says, hey buddy, so what's your overall advice? Stay single, work on your passion, etc., or search for unicorns in your spare time? I don't search for unicorns. Enjoy your life. I wouldn't spend so much energy on women, because the way the dating market, the society is, and the way women are especially, and how they're operating in it, it's largely for nothing. Just enjoy your life. And if you kind of focus on your own morals and values, at least then you can judge things that are worth spending your time on, whether they're people, things. I mean, your hobbies can actually show you, I invest in this and look at everything I get from it. It's rewarding. Yeah, I learn, I fall down, but overall the net aggregate is I get a lot of positive from the things I put my time into. Then when a woman comes your way, and it's kind of like, I get nothing from this, you can cut that off straight away, because you've trained yourself to recognize where you invest your time and energy and you get rewarded, as opposed to a female that you're not getting rewarded from. So at the very least, focus on yourself, your own life, your own callings and hobbies. And then by contrast, a woman falls short. Will asks, is there any way to get women to elevate men in anything other than utilitarian terms? Not really, other than by the way we act in and of ourselves. Because don't forget, women are the passive sex. So they don't get anything unless we act upon them, for them, around them. So it's not making them. In sort of biological terms, they have the upper hand because we desire them. We have to do and act and ask and all that stuff for us to have a relationship with. It's how we choose to do things. And if they get starved of attention, of contact and so forth, that's why I suggest men respect themselves more. Then not that you want women to change, but as a consequence, women will hopefully need to act more civilly towards men when they're forced to, because men deny simping around them. Christopher asks, are the lockdowns in Australia very strict? It seems in the US it's a mixed bag. Yeah, here in Victoria it's pretty strict. I can't go out after 8. I can't leave within a 5-mile radius. If I leave my property without a mask, I get fined nearly $2,000. It's very Gestapo-like. Webb, should we have empathy towards society? No, I think that's a trap. Society is not a person. Okay, we've been going for just over an hour. Let's start to wrap up questions. If you've got any questions or super chats, throw them my way, gentlemen. Let's hit the final straight. Irvin, a woman who invests a lot of time in me. We're dating for 4 years. She wants to buy an apartment so she can settle down with me, and she already submitted to me. Just wanted to know your thoughts on this. That's rare. I don't know enough about your relationship, man, but you know if you can trust her. The whole point is trust, real objective trust. Sure, people can change, but to the degree that you can trust your friend, to the degree that you can trust a woman given her nature and the laws around her, and how over a long period of time you can honestly say you can trust her. Or if you can't trust women, regardless of how nice they treat you, if you say, these are my boundaries, I won't move in with you, I won't get married, these are the conditions, can you still stay with me? It's all up to you, but sounds like she's better than most. I'm sorry if some of you guys who have given me super chats previously, the feed just flicked and I lost a lot that I can't go back. It won't let me go any further. So all I can do is go downward. So I'll try and read all the questions and super chats that have been put down so far. Webb asks, should we have empathy towards society that hates us? I'm not sure if you asked the previous question. Thanks, One Way. I appreciate it. As much as possible, you guys get the trend of my videos. Thanks, Luke. Be conscious of the people in front of you, how you treat people, how you treat yourself, respecting yourself. Don't focus too much. It's nice as an organizing principle to think of society, to think of women, so forth, as a tangential kind of way of thinking that adds to your personal thinking. Thanks, McTown ND, man. But focus on the personal, the individual, the person in front of you. Judge the woman that's in front of you. Judge your friend. Judge yourself in the mirror. What are your values? Be hard on yourself. Be hard on the person. Not hard like an a-hole, but hard as in that's what I'm focusing on. If we're always focusing on on women, on feminism, on the collapse, on politics, on left, on right, it kind of conveniently avoids us or the person in front of us. And it seems more noble because it's bigger. Oh, look, I'm focusing on more than just me or more than just this woman. I'm focusing on all women. I'm focusing on all men. I'm focusing on all society. Your life suffers from what I've seen. The more selfish you can be about yourself and the personal interactions you have, I would say that it serve you better. Especially if you're philosophically interested. If you like my work and people who talk more personally, I would always calibrate yourself to the personal as much as possible, rationally to the personal. Okay, let me fly through these. B-Dom says, we need a lot of money, 6 figures, etc. It's very true. It becomes greed and trying to impress at a point. It's kind of greed. And how much do you give? How much do you want to pay for anything? Again, look at the meaningful stuff in your life, just people in front of you like your friends. How much do you really have to pay other than your time and your attention and your trust and I'll be there for you and so forth? It has little to do with money. Yes, money, you need money, roof over your head. You're not here unless you eat, so forth. But aside from the basics, just the elevated level that today's dating and women need, that needs to be starved for things to kind of get back to normal. In terms of dating and women today, the addict is taking so much cocaine, pulling it back down to cold turkey as much as possible will make relating to people, especially the opposite sex, better. Limit the drug to them in terms of the way dating operates. It's the only way it's going to get better as far as I can see. Unorthodox theory question. Is it possible for an ex-partner who lost feelings for you and who said you two weren't compatible to remain attraction via the no contact rule, or should one just move on and forget it? I would say forget it. If you want something that she can't give you, but you're going to put up with the bare minimum because that's all she wants, but you're not getting a lot, you're spinning the wheels, you're limiting yourself from parts of life. So if you're kind of letting a person own a big part of you because at least she gives me that, you get more of what you want out of life. A big rule, guys, ask for what you want. Be civil, be polite, get what you want, ask for what you want. Don't force people. With women, if they don't want to give you what you want, if you're sensible, if what you want you're going to give to, don't take scraps. Don't let people keep you on the leash as a pet or a coat they have in the cupboard that they pull out whenever they feel like it while they're out doing whatever they want. You're not an accessory to someone's life. Genesis asks me, do you have a favorite comedian? Mine is Norm Macdonald. Yeah, he's good. I like Bill Burr. I like Bill Burr's older stuff more than his recent couple since he got married. It really shows in his comedy. And especially since he's had his child too. You can sort of see what his fears might be coming through in his comedy. But again, he might have changed. Can't expect someone to stay, you like someone who was angry at 20 and then you might read their book or see their material or what they produce when they're in their 40s. You can't really expect them to be a 20-year-old as well. But that's just me selfishly wanting Bill Burr to be frozen in time and have the same comedy he did before he got married. Hugo says, hookup culture is just one of the symptoms that shows up in the decline of a society. You cannot build a healthy society without meaningful relationships. Exactly. And when you say meaningful, the first thing I think about is trust and cooperation. That's a meaningful relationship, whether it's friends, lovers, and by extension, society. That's why we've survived. We're not the strongest. We don't have fur. We're not the fastest. We cooperate and think better collectively. As individuals, we're vulnerable. We don't progress as a society. The trust is hamstrung by the way we're operating at the moment. Electric Tyrone, thanks for the super chat, man. He asks, with robots, AI and sperm banks, most men are their fossil fuel and obsolete. Yeah, that's an analogy. 5, 7, and 2. Do you have any wisdom for men attempting to rediscover creative pursuits that have atrophied over the course of an adulthood otherwise defined by jobs and necessity? Try doing them again, and if you feel you don't feel anything anymore, that's dead. It's dead and buried. That's all I can suggest. Try it and see if it's still there. You can't try it in your head. It needs to be something you need to tactily, in terms of touch and senses, see if it gives you at least something that it used to when you liked it. Otherwise, you need to find something new. Most times men need to find something to do. We are human doings, whether you like it or not. I know we resent it, where women like us only for that. But for ourselves, given that we're human doings in women's eyes, we are human doings for ourselves, if you want to admit it or not. We feel the best when we have stuff to do. I'm so upbeat most of the time. I've always got something to do. That's why I've got such a will. I've got this energy. There's a lot I like doing. So yeah, try your old hobbies. See if there's still life there. That's all I'd recommend. Make the questions stand out. Thomas says, has anyone said those glasses make you look like Jeff Goldblum? He's got more hair than me. Hopefully I don't speak like him. Okay. Oh, this thing jumps a lot. Oh man, it just jumped a whole bunch. Sorry guys. I'm probably not scrolling enough. There are so many questions. But it's great though. I've got over 200 viewers. No wonder the feed can't keep up. I really appreciate it, guys. I'm going to try and go through this a lot further, a lot faster. So unless they stand out, your questions, I might miss them, but I apologize. I can't keep up with the feed. Mr. Highway asks, do you think that the hookup culture mentality has spread to friendships as well? Yes. I feel that people walk away from meaningful relationships like it's nothing. I've lost friends for no good reason. Yeah. I used to think it was, when guys get married, they're preoccupied so much that I can understand they haven't got time for friendships. But now people are married to their phones, married to sort of social feeds. They're married to their own little bubble of one. It's really weird. But yeah, I'd agree with that. Human AJ Wrestling Review asked, as a fellow Melburnian and Baldy, I want to say thank you. Your videos bring a fresh take to the manosphere. I always thought the ideology of plate spinning and pickup game was ridiculous. Yep. Thanks, man. Hello, fellow Melburnian. Babadi asks, is the hookup culture not a self-defeating way of living? Yes. It does not seem to be sustainable and seems not only question the rationale of sexual interaction. Yeah, it's kind of masturbating with people. And you could argue you're doing that with a meaningful relationship, but it settles. With hooking up, you're in this heightened honeymoon period. I've never liked the honeymoon period, even in relationships that seem like they're going somewhere, because I want them to settle to when the high dissipates and just the person is left and whether you can get along and you're comfortable with each other. That adrenalized initial dating honeymoon phase where you're not really revealing yourself, you're feeling each other out. It's even worse because you only interact with each other for a moment or a day. I think it's a waste of time. It is self-defeating. AJ's Wrestling, random question. Have you ever trained in any form of martial arts and blah, 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 blah. Any time of sport? Last time, yeah, I did. I did karate when I was very young. This was before I was a teenager. I haven't done anything since. Basketball, I've played basketball all my life. Yep. As a sport. And gym, running, always. Is a mentoring Wet Palette Warrior, is a mentoring young men a good way to offset the biological need for reproduction? In some ways, I enjoy talking to guys and helping guys. So you could say I'm getting some of that out of my system because I don't have a child. There are organizations out there that allow you to have a positive influence on the young men. Yeah. I've never wanted to be a father. I never wanted to live that role. I can't see myself as being giving myself into that lifestyle. And I know you need to give a lot. I've never wanted to give that level of responsibility over. So again, yeah, that's on me though. I'm not going to say it's anyone's fault but mine. But Why Not says $2,000 to no mask. Where did you hear this? I think it's nearly 2,000. I think it's like 12 to 1,800 or 1,600 last time I heard. But it's definitely between 1 and 2,000. I think it's about 1,600 or 1,800 here in Melbourne. That's Australian dollars. I don't know what that translates to in US. One Man's Way, thank you for the super chat, man. I appreciate it. Five, 7, and 2. Do you have any advice on discovering creative pursuits that have atrophied over? Okay, you asked this before. I think you were just repeating it in case it got lost. Luke, thank you very much for the super chat, man. His question is, what should we fix first for society, family, economy, laws, especially marriage, crime, demographics? What do you think? Again, yourself. Talk about this with other men. Develop this ethic and moral going forward. That changes society. But if you're a person that does nothing in your life, you don't speak what's honest, you don't interact and force that honesty in conversation with other people, how you act, you don't you vote with your wallet, you don't buy the things that support organizations or women or whatever, you're sick of paying for dinner. Focus on you, and enough men who are sick of it, as men are more and more. You've seen the media, the things like MGTOW more and more in mainstream news articles. It's no longer fringe. The more individual men don't just talk about it, but they act and ethically live it in their lives. I think that's the key. Time for dying. I don't have an opinion on comic skates, sorry. Mad Max. Question, why does my ex-girlfriend, which left me and now is married and has a child, still calls me? I never pick up. Maybe ask her husband. I have no idea. I think everyone kind of can guess why. Doesn't sound like a good person. You're lucky you didn't marry her and someone else did, I suppose. Nathan asks, as student loans and the debt that women have found themselves in and men walking away, do you think the government will bail them out and will men suffer because of it? Yeah, the government will try and hold on and go further down this hellhole as much as it can until it gets to a breaking point where the government can't afford it anymore. I mean, the environment now might be a way of doing it. It came to a breaking point economically now. People are being forced to be more sensible. Basically get people in survival mode. And people are in survival mode now. So you can't entertain a lot of the left shenanigans. Jeez, I can't believe I said shenanigans. It makes me appear really old. Who says shenanigans these days? Thanks, Alpha Dog. I appreciate the super chat, man. Victor says the thinking man is the biggest enemy of society. Yeah, if the society looks like the way it does now, yeah. When society appreciated intelligence, it was the opposite. What's a saying? If you want to know who rules over you, see who you're not allowed to speak up against. It's mainly women you can't speak up against. And yeah, it's no wonder they don't like the male voice. It sort of doesn't make them feel good by comparison. Intelligence is much more highly prized in a male arena because we have to be more intelligent. I spoke about this in my video, The Alone Man. There's nothing beyond us, so we like intelligence. We find it interesting. We fetishize intelligence because it's something we use, we have to use. It's beyond us. It's the only way we can progress and go further, is using intelligence and thought. Women don't, because beyond them is man. Yeah, Wet Palette Warrior, Jordan Peterson made a great point. Sort yourself out before attempting to fix the world. Exactly. Look, Jordan Peterson didn't get popular for no reason. You can sort of pick on certain points, his character or whatever it might be, but generally the guy's pretty sound. I like him. I've said this before. Jack, thank you very much for the super chat, man. His question is, nothing to do with women, but what would you say to a man who is consumed body and soul by having been betrayed by people and experienced years and periods of fighting and fight or flight levels of stress? Yeah, I'd say boundaries. If you're continually being betrayed, and there's a lot of that fight or flight is the cortisol sort of fear-induced sort of thing running through you all the time, is I'd say learn to develop boundaries and stick to them. But if you don't have boundaries and you continue to just go out there and go, I feel good when I'm open, and you're always naked and you're always getting hurt, you need to develop your boundaries. If you don't know how to, or if you don't have good friends that can help you foster boundaries, they're people that can look after you, and in relation to them, you can mirror off them and start to develop a character similar to respectful, strong friends who do have self-respect. If you don't have them around you and you can't find them, therapy, again, last resort. And I say last resort because most of the therapy industry is very female-focused. 90-something% of them are females. Look for a good one, preferably a male. As a glib shorthand method, look for a therapist that resembles something like Paul Elam. Hey, Coltane. Sup, bro? Are you still in lockdown? I know we're always in lockdown. We're the worst. We're the most multicultural state. We're the most feminist. And we've got the worst insane lockdown restrictions. What does that tell you? I should go live in another part of Australia. Finn says, Coltane, your recent video was brilliant. Well done. Have you released the new video, Coltane? I won't have a look now. I'm not going to waste everyone's time. Cool. Yeah, Mice. I agree about Bill Burr. His wife has had a negative effect on his comedy. Yeah, I think everyone can see it. Ian, thank you very much for the super chat donation. His question is, if you want to understand how empathy can be abused, read my book, Empathalia. It's fun too. Nice plug. Look at him promoting. Yeah, older Bill Burr material is hilarious. That's when he was you could tell he was a lot more honest. Look, he's probably being honest now, but very different comedian compared to a few years ago. Wet Palette, what advice would you have for a married man with no hobbies, only his work, which he treats like an escape from his wife, family, and kids who just take from him? Hard spot, man. The glib answer from most tough guys out there would be just kind of get rid of your wife and kids. And who cares? Depends how badly you feel, what your limits are. Some guys don't care. Some guys just have hobbies on the side, just like putting on a movie or watching sport. It's a nice release. Whereas other people have callings that are essential. Mine things aren't just hobbies, they're callings. I need time for them. So they're not just luxuries, I need them. It depends what it is for you. It depends how miserable your life is. For a lot of guys, I know for some of my friends who are married, they're contently married. They're not ecstatic. They're not really happy all the time. But they don't hate their wives. They have reasonable wives. They're just tired. They don't have any time to do anything else. They wish it'd be better, but they wouldn't throw it away. Transor asks, will technology eventually make us all obsolete for all areas of life, both male and female? I don't think so. Why? Why not? Says nearly $2,000 for not wearing mask in Melbourne. Do you want to say where this info is from? From the mainstream media. They're constantly saying, there was this man who got fined $1,400, $1,600. And even I think if you take a look on the government website in Melbourne, I don't know if I'm 100% right on the actual number, but it's much more than $1,000 and it's less than $2,000. It's somewhere in between. Wet Pallet asks, is mentoring young men a good way to offset their biological need for reproduction? If young men are lacking male mentors today, mentorship can be a valuable alternative. Yes. Mentoring in such a way that men think rationally for themselves, not telling them what to think, not kind of indoctrinating them into any kind of Manispherian dogmatic religiosity like, go monk, get a doll, politics, buy Bitcoin, like, very, very binary thinking, kind of trying to predict the future. I think just mentoring young men to have their eyes open and know what's what, especially legally, that kind of mentoring is sorely lacked, and I agree. There should be more of that. Lincoln. Hey, human. Mate, do you have any pets? No, but I want to get a dog. I honestly believe dogs are a much better investment than a relationship these days. There you go. Yeah, I agree. What did I watch? I rewatched an old movie the other night that I thoroughly enjoyed because I forgot how good it was. It was The November Man with Pierce Brosnan. And right at the start, he says to a younger recruit that's starting to have a relationship or about to, he says, you can't have a relationship in this business. You feel the need for a relationship, get a dog. Okay, guys, I think I'm heading to the end of the questions, if that's it. We've been going for an hour and a half. Just quickly, hope you guys have been enjoying it. Futuristic Studios. From the pill to Tinder to OnlyFans, the fast food sex has tended towards promiscuous moral decay. What, if anything, do you think will correct this trend of course? More of an environment like this, making the survival instinct of human beings come into play so we can't entertain ourselves with our interaction with each other. We can't throw each other away because there's an abundance of other people. We can't treat each other like shit because there's other people there that don't know us that we can potentially go to as strangers and maybe not treat them like shit, or maybe we just do again. But basically, when we have to, when we don't really have a lot of friends and we can't afford to be a-holes, make the environment less safe and less comfortable for, let's just say, the people on the left of the spectrum, or the less mature, let's put it that way. William says, a chiropractor can also help with sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, which is associated on a physical level with fight or flight. Yeah, the release of stress. Yep, if I'm reading it correctly. That can help too. Although for a lot of these questions, they are social and philosophical. They're not just... It can help though. Why the sad face thing says, I think the key to male fulfillment is a strong, lifelong male peer group. What are your thoughts? Yes. Especially the way dating and women are, and Tinder and all that kind of stuff, where it's so fast and it's fleeting, nothing lasts, and where men really value honor, trusting someone, bonding, kind of foundation with other people where they can kind of interact, and, you know, men working together to build something or go somewhere or play sport or whatever, where there's no connection, no stability, everything's fleeting. I think men are faring worse and worse. Women's interaction is better with monkey branching. Men's interaction doesn't do well monkey branching. Maybe in terms of money, men's do, but that's impersonal. Personally, I think women do better monkey branching, men don't. So, yeah. The promiscuity is a problem for men on that psychological level, I think. Mazakarai, how do you deal with people who married into your family? In my case, a brother-in-law, who both don't like each other. How do you think it is worth to try to establish a bond? Try to get them to get along. I'm lucky. I get along with my brother-in-law. He's a great guy. But if they won't, if they're always fighting, I just learned to go, look, I've tried. You guys want to talk civilly? I'm here. If not, I'm not going to talk with children. Leave the ball in their court. People can tear each other apart, but you're not tearing me apart. I'll be there if you want to be civil and adult about things, but Coltane, man, the stream is running about 20 minutes behind the chat. Not in lockdown, but I think it might go back that way depending on what happens in Victoria and New South Wales. Yeah. We're seen as the bad guy in a lot of respects because we got it the worst. We're infecting everyone. Victoria has AIDS and we're infecting everyone else. Can I say that on this stream? Yeah, I think the delay in the stream is the number of people on. Actually, it's getting lower, so I think it's speeding up at the moment. So 164 people on at the moment. So I think the sync with the comments is going to be better. Marriages should have to be renewed every 7 years, like a driver's license. Yeah. Every 5 years, I'd say. Or less. Web browser. Your thoughts on women being allowed to openly hit men in public and workplace? Yeah, I can't stand it. You even see it when a guy makes a woman laugh, she hits him. drives me nuts. Back in the day, it wouldn't, but now it's just the freedom women have in doing, saying, and acting any way they want, even interpersonally like that. It drives me nuts. I can't stand it. I can tell you, in relationships I've had, when the woman's done that to me, I've done it straight back. Once or twice they've acted surprised, but I've just given back exactly what they gave to me physically, just to kind of let them know, like, yeah, I'm that kind of guy. I won't stand for being disrespected. Or it's not disrespectful, but I can do it to you. I'm just abiding by your ethics. I'm laughing back right at you, babe. Savvy, thank you very much for the super chat, man. You're the greatest. His question is, thanks for being a thought leader and having the courage to stick to the truth. Human. Thanks for the words. I don't think I'm anything. Yeah, I'm just a guy. I'm just trying to be as honest as I can. You could say I talk about milquetoast stuff, but I'm just talking about very pedestrian stuff, but thoughtfully, or trying to work things out myself. That conversationally, I know I'd like this conversation with other guys, which it looks like you find it interesting. I'm not trying to be sort of address really big, high philosophical points, because sometimes I feel like they can get lost. The more you can think in terms of this conversationally, deeply, stoically or maturely, the more you can voice this stuff in front of women and other people, have these kind of honest conversations, the better they're going to serve you. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. The main thing for me is to keep these conversations going, me talking to like-minded guys. I learn from you, from some of my videos. Like, I might have an idea, I put it forward, whatever's boiling in my kettle, I put it out there, and then your comments afterwards, they just add to it, and they expand my thinking a lot of times too. So I like the conversation happening with you guys too. You know, I give you something, you give me something back, and we all benefit. It's a win-win to me. Wet Pallet Warrior, I grew up in rural Victoria with lots of good male mentors from primary to secondary school, in sports clubs, and from family friends. That was the 90s. Is this extremely rare today? Yeah. I think the more rural you are, it takes time for that to catch up to the city, as the culture of the city is expanding out. But with media, it's catching up very quickly. Honest person is asking, is anyone actually dying or just testing positive? I think most of it is just testing positive. I think there's more hysteria than the hysteria correlating to actual deaths. Given that we're the most feminized state in Victoria, we've got such big restrictions now, and it's so insecure and neurotic here. I'll let you put those things together. It's stupid. Tokyo Traveler, human, don't underestimate your influence. Your actions let men know that they are not alone in their thinking. That alone means a lot. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Well, I wanted to make the videos and interact in ways I wasn't seeing that I felt I needed. And it's similar, I've referenced it to writing. When you want to write, you start writing the books you want to read. I wanted to create the conversations I wanted to have, rather than sitting back and hoping I get them, like a woman hoping a man would bestow flowers upon her. I didn't want to be as passive. So I wanted to create my environment as much as possible. So if I can create this, do my best to talk as honestly as I can, to interact and create the tribe I want to be involved with, at least I tried, rather than sitting back and, crossing my fingers for the lottery ticket of, guys I can speak to and thoughts I can process. The best chance I can work my own stuff out is to put them out there and guys will find it, and we can talk about this stuff, and we can all sharpen each other. Safety is paramount. We cannot go back to the normal until everyone is 100% safe, 100% of the time. Hence Victoria's draconian lockdowns, yeah. In the same way, we need to have equality 100%. Until then, yeah. Luke, I'm in Victoria, in Australia. Oh, there you go, Thomas. Already said it. Christopher, forgive me, for I used to be a simp. I used to do simpy things as well. Okay, guys, if that's all the questions, we'll wrap it up. We've been going for an hour and 45 minutes. For once, I might keep it under 2 hours. Actually, I've kept it at around an hour and a half in the past, I think. All right, guys, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for dropping by, guys. I appreciate all the questions, the super chats. Keep the comments coming, especially in the recent video, and I'll make it a habit of the next live stream. I'll try and answer some of your questions, put them on screen, and we can discuss them. So thanks for dropping by, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.